Welcome to episode 7 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
So, I want to talk about Green Lantern.
Well, how about the fact that we have real... How about we first say sorry to everyone for having to listen to us on cell phones. We actually have real equipment.
Yeah, we actually are a lot more professional now, so I guess lucky number 7. But first we started out very low tech, and then we got actual music, and now we actually have real equipment, so we don't sound...
The next thing we need, is people
bad.
to pay us for shit. But we're okay.
Now we need listeners, that we can show off.
Yeah, and we're okay. We will be paid in like goods too. You don't have to pay us in cash. So
cold hard cash.
Looking at you, Omaha Steaks.
Budweiser. What else can we get?
Budweiser. I don't drink that shit. No, I don't want to drink that shit.
Sierra Nevada Brewery. Hello.
In that case, you would have to give us money if you're Budweiser. I'm not drinking that crap.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I had to revisit Green Lantern and actually some other movies recently because Ryan Reynolds has his big movie coming out in a week,
right?
Deadpool. So I felt like going back and like watching the shit storm of a movie called Green Lantern,
right?
Which coincidentally, a few years ago I went to WonderCon and that was the big draw was Green Lantern, and they had Ryan Reynolds there and Blake Lively, and they showed footage of it, and I have to say, like, I was really excited, except for the suit. I thought the suit looked really bad. And I think we were talking about it earlier about the Entertainment Weekly they had him on the cover with the suit all glowing and all that stuff. And it just looked, it was not what I expected.
Right. I mean, it still looked bad on Entertainment Weekly, but it didn't look as bad as when you actually saw it moving, because you could do a lot in Photoshop. So it didn't look too bad, but when you saw it moving around, it looked just really awful.
What were they thinking, dude? Like, why would you, I'm sure it costs a lot of money to do that effect, but why would you do a CGI outfit? I just don't get it.
That sounds like somebody at Warner Brothers who knows nothing about making movies or comic books and just says, hey, we have the technology to CG this, so why don't we do it instead? And then while we're at it, we'll just CG a mask instead of 45 minutes of prosthetics to put it on his face. Let's just
45 seconds.
Yeah, like let's just CG as a mask black too.
Just get it like some black paper and just put it over my face and poke eyes out. Ready to go. Here we go.
I mean, they CG'd the mask. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I thought that was a complete waste of CGI. I mean, I did get excited when I saw the alien, Abin Sur, I think his name is, Abin Sur. I got excited about that.
He looked pretty good, but that's because the entire character was almost CGI'd. So that wasn't
a big... Was he CGI? I thought it was an actor in makeup.
I always thought it was a mix of both. Like how Vision how Vision was, but not as good, obviously.
No. With all the technology that they had, and when they were bringing this movie out, I was super, super excited for it. I really was. And then I learned, and then we learned who the director was. We learned who the writers were. We learned that Ryan Reynolds got the part, which, for us, like the chance of a Deadpool.
I was skeptical.
Well, the chance, but see, the biggest bummer part of it was the chance of ever seeing him be Deadpool. We thought back then was over. We thought it's done. We'll never see him in Deadpool. But thankfully, they they rose above it, and he was able to bring Deadpool,
Well, he didn't.
bringing it out. But
Technically, he didn't really rise above it. He just made a really shitty Green Lantern movie, and then,
he did.
and then they
He
released.
did.
I mean,
Was it he and Bradley Cooper up for that, or Ryan Gosling? I can't remember.
I don't. It doesn't matter who would have been in the role. That the movie just has so many wrong things other than Ryan Reynolds being miscast in that movie.
Well, So, did you revisited that movie recently as well, right?
Yeah. So what we're gonna do from now on, with the big movie, the summer movie coming out, is we're gonna start going back to the movies that kind of tie into the release the week before the movie comes out, and we'll kind of try to dive into it. So this one's a little bit different because basically you got Deadpool for, like 5 total minutes before they sewed his mouth shut. And then you got Green Lantern. So these are the only 2 things that we could really talk about that Ryan Reynolds was in that would even be kind of remotely close. But what's interesting about the way that Ryan Reynolds acts is the fact that this is a plus and minus for Deadpool, is that essentially he's always been Deadpool. He's always been that sarcastic person, and no matter what he did. So,
right. I mean, like even in Van Wilder, he was essentially, doing Deadpool type, sarcasm,
he just wasn't
but
killing
without
anybody.
the swords.
He
just wasn't slicing people up. He's all, "Come here, Kumar." So like he's always had that, that sarcasm and the wit and the cleverness and the smart ass,
right,
remarks and stuff like that. He does that perfectly. So like he, was born to play that role. And but so you didn't mention Blade Trinity.
Oh yes.
Because,
oh shit, I forgot about that. Right.
Yeah, well, it's a forgettable movie. It's a piece of shit, but the one bright spot, and I'm not talking about Jessica Biel's boobs. The one bright spot in that movie was Ryan Reynolds. He did an amazing job. For one thing, he got ripped in that movie, and he, martial arts and the swords and all that stuff. He essentially was playing Deadpool. Hannibal King, I think, was the character's name. But he essentially did that whole clever, funny, witty thing and, sarcastic thing. And that was like 10 years ago, and so it took a long time for that road and, to get up there. But Green Lantern, I was so excited about it because I thought, okay, finally, maybe we'll be able to, they found a way to showcase his talents because he's done a lot of like comedy and stuff like that, and I always thought that he would make a really good like action hero, like how Chris Pratt is an action hero now. The funny guy on Parks and Rec is now this like really cool action hero.
Yeah, but
he
at
can
the same time, though, anytime you see Chris Pratt in something, he's somebody different. When I see Chris Pratt in Jurassic World or Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't see Andy from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, you don't see Andy Dwyer, right? He is versatile. You're right.
So I mean, they both look like they can be action stars, but Ryan Reynolds has this way of just always delivering like a sarcastic line, almost like he took acting classes from Matthew Perry in his role in Friends.
He's like, he could have been Chandler Bing. They're very interchangeable,
right? They both have that delivery of that sarcastic line, and that's always the problem that I had with Ryan Reynolds. But I was okay with that when he was doing comedies like Waiting and Van Wilder.
Just Friends,
right? Yeah, I was completely okay with that because it fit the romantic comedy and him being sarcastic and all. I mean, Just Friends is a great movie to me, anyway.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's really funny.
Hilarious.
But as a Green Lantern, I never pictured Green Lantern speaking like that or acting like that. But as Deadpool, that's completely
it was too
different.
over the top.
Yeah, it was completely different.
It was over the top.
Like it was kind of like how Jim Carrey was perfectly cast as that version of the Riddler. But if he was cast as I don't know, as Scarecrow, that would have been completely bad. Or whatever.
It wouldn't have made sense.
So
he really needed to tone it down because like going back to like Chris Pratt, like he his Jurassic World while he still was, witty and funny and all that stuff, but it was just different.
Right.
He pulled it way back.
Yeah, it wasn't
And
Andy.
it worked.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't Andy. And the Guardians of the Galaxy, he was kind of in the middle of the two. He was really goofy and weird and funny and all that stuff. But
Yeah, but the second
was a
he
total
starts,
leading man.
right? The second he starts, I didn't really get any Andy from that. The second he does all this stuff and he speaks and it doesn't sound like Andy to me, which is good. It's a testament to the actor. But as bad as not as bad, I shouldn't say that, as one dimensional almost as Ryan Reynolds is and how he delivers his line. It, like we said before, it doesn't matter who was in this movie. If they got Bradley Cooper or whoever you said, Ryan Gosling, it would have mattered because this movie was just fucked from the beginning, and it shouldn't have been.
It was
shouldn't have
bad,
been. I mean,
man.
they got the writer.
Was bad. No,
they got the writer. I can't remember what he exactly did on this script, but it's the guy Robert Berlanti, I think his name is, that's doing Flash and
Berlanti.
Arrow.
Well, I just say Berlanti because he's just killing it on the CW right now. So.
Right. And I heard something where he got top billing on the script, but if you look, there's like 4 other writers on there. And I heard that he didn't want to be on there. I heard he didn't want to be on there because of either they changed too much or he was just
they probably changed
coming in and editing stuff.
I think I mean they spent $200 million on that movie, which I don't know where it went, kind of thing. Because I've seen other movies that have cost that and have been the production value is way better. So I have a feeling they brought in all these different writers that probably had production delays, like you name it. But Green Lantern is just a different animal, just like how Doctor Strange is going to be way different for Marvel. It's the first otherworldly superhero kind of thing. Oa's out in space and all that stuff, and so you're used to Batman and Superman and all that. Well, Superman's an alien, but you know what I mean. It's just different, and so they bring the Green Lantern, and it takes you need really good writing and really good. It just didn't feel like they were aware of who that character was, who the Green Lantern is. Right. Like there was some of it, but it was still pretty far off the mark. And the bad guy wasn't any good, and wasn't. Again, we've talked many times about when you're a villain, you need to be full on evil villain. If you have any kind of an impediment of some kind, it just totally weakens the character. Like he was a whiny bitch. Like he wanted the girl. That was all he wanted, and because he couldn't have the girl, he was being a dick. I'm just and what a shitty life he led.
Yeah.
Man.
You kind of almost didn't even think he was a bad guy. You kind of almost wanted to say, I kind of want to root for you too, because I mean, what is bad writing in the movie is that the sub villain or I don't know the Green Lanterns too much about the Green Lantern, but I don't know who that guy was playing Sarsgaard, but
yeah,
he was more of a tragic figure than he had actually a better story arc than Ryan Reynolds did or than Hal Jordan did in the movie.
He did. His arc went full circle.
Right, exactly. He went from passive aggressive to I mean basically psychotic.
You know what it was, dude? You know what have made it better is if they actually let Sarsgaard be, because Sarsgaard's actually a pretty good looking dude and he's a really good actor. They should have let him be just as just as good looking as Ryan Reynolds is.
Yeah, they made him really bad with the really receding hairline and everything.
Oh my gosh! It just made him just like, if he was just as badass as Ryan Reynolds, that would have made a movie. Because I'm like that. Now you have a rival. You have somebody that can keep up with all that stuff, and you have this competition and all that, and that would have made a much better movie. But instead, they made him this little wimpy dude who, he happened to get some telekinesis powers and throw things around, but it just wasn't. It just didn't feel scary or dangerous to me at all. I don't, I didn't feel any kind of threat or anything like that.
Well, at least he uses powers pretty cool when he first started using them. When he, was telekinetically throwing people around and making the robot arms, do things. Remember in that
Oh my
in that
god!
room.
Yeah, that that was
Meanwhile,
cool. And
right. Meanwhile, you got
right,
Ryan Reynolds doing a
Ryan Reynolds.
fucking racetrack, almost killing everybody for the second time.
he the helicopter like mowed through the audience as he's just like staring at it, and he's like, "Oh, I better go become the superhero now." And yeah, he puts out a freaking racetrack instead of like what a glove or a
A giant
bouncy ball
pillow,
for it
a
to
giant
stop.
a net, a giant pillow.
Pillow, anything. No, let's put it on a racetrack and let's drive it around faster, and
Yeah.
let's throw it through the audience again.
Yeah, like
Because he thinks that's cool.
Yeah, there was 20 people in the audience that didn't shit themselves the first time the helicopter almost killed them. So let's get
So,
those
dude,
people.
I've only watched that movie twice, and the second time I watched it, I caught it so quickly. It was very brief. But that whole racetrack thing comes from the very beginning. It's so subtle. But like he's talking to his nephew,
Right.
who's just had a birthday, and the nephew leaves, and as he leaves, there's this racetrack, and he flicks it or something like that, and the cars like flip around on it, and then he walks out the door. It was so subtle, and then throwaway, and you don't think about it. Like I didn't think about it the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
But since I knew that race car scene was coming up, I noticed it right away when he did that. I was like, "Oh shit, that's where the race car thing comes from." And normally, like really good movies have really good ways of foreshadowing things to happen. And when they do happen, you're like, "Oh shit!" It's like a payoff. You know, what were we talking about the other day about you brought up Thor's hammer.
Oh, you're right. In Avengers 2, where they have it's the exact
fucking, that's
opposite of how you actually do something that pays off in the end.
And it took 2 hours to pay off too.
Right, exactly.
You know,
Because it was such a memorable scene where they're all bullshitting, sitting around. I mean, and that's actually some of my most favorite parts of the Avengers,
it was my
when they're
favorite
just
part of the whole
talking,
movie.
when those
Yeah.
superheroes, basically demigods and whatever, are just sitting there talking, bullshitting like they're normal people, and they're just fucking with each other about not being able to be worthy enough to pick up this hammer. And it's such a memorable scene because that's right before the shit hits the fan, and
Right.
and then like you said, 2 hours later, Vision picks up that hammer, and the theater goes fucking nuts because I don't even know. When I was in the theater, I don't even know what he said afterwards or what people said afterwards because we were all
I had
laughing
to watch it
so
a
hard.
second time. Yeah, we were all laughing. And then like the very next scene, they're like, "Well, if you put the hammer in an elevator and the elevator goes up, is the elevator worthy too?"
Right,
It was
right.
so great.
So that's
Yeah,
exactly
so-
how you're supposed to do it. And then I didn't
Yeah.
even pick it up until you just said it, that's where it happened because
Yeah.
it's such a throwaway of a scene. Like he just flicks it, walks away, and then it happens in less movie time than it does in the Avengers.
And yet it's still forgettable. Like
Right.
very forgettable.
And I've seen
Like,
it three
if they made
times.
it-
I've seen the movie 3 times.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah,
first time I ever thought about it.
if they made it a point to sit there and talk to each other and play with that car thing and whatever, it would have paid off a little bit better. But the way it sits, it just makes no fucking sense.
They did the exact.
Why
They did the exact opposite. I've never seen this. You know what? I've never actually seen it done this way because usually what ends up happening is like you get the one that is so you just think it's such a memorable scene, you literally don't think about it, which is the Avengers 2.
Right.
Like that,
Right.
you just thought you didn't think that it was going to be a payoff.
You thought that was self-contained,
Right,
You're just
exactly,
like,
because
okay, that was
that was a
cool,
cool
in and
scene.
of itself,
Right, and
Yeah.
and then there's the other aspect of it where there's other movies that they make the person do this like dumbing down the audience thing, where the character like stands or stares at the object, or there's a
Right.
close up on if I gave you like a pair of keys. And there's like a huge close up and a slow mo of me handing you the keys for no fucking reason, and then you're like,
Right.
okay, that's something's going to happen with those set of keys. But in
Right.
Green Lantern's instant, I didn't. The scene was so nothing, such
It
a
was a
throwaway
nothing scene,
that
nothing.
I watched it 3 times and I never picked up on it.
Yeah, it's bad, and that's again, a testament to bad writing or bad filming, editing, whatever you want to call it. Because when it happens, it felt so out of left field. You're like, what? Why are they doing this racetrack thing?
Yeah,
like, you could have done
they
100
actually
different
showed
things.
they actually showed the same plane that his father
Yeah.
gave him, and I was like, I wonder
Yep.
if that's going to come back later. So I actually thought while I was watching the movie that the payoff was going to be he's going to create a green plane,
Right.
which he never.
Which he does.
Well,
He
kind of,
he
but
he
that's not
creates
the
two
same
green
thing. Yeah,
planes.
but they
Yeah, it's
weren't
not
built
the
the
same
same
thing.
way. Actually, what it looked like to me when he showed that that clear green plane, it almost looked like Wonder Woman's invisible jet
It kind of did. It did.
from the Justice League cartoon, like from the '60s. Remember her? Remember
Yeah.
Wonder Woman's? It was just a white outline.
The Legion of Doom.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me. I was like, I wonder
It
if that's an
totally
Easter.
did.
I was like thinking. I was wondering if that was an Easter egg to Wonder Woman when I first
Yeah,
saw
but
the
you know
movie.
what? Major plot points in that movie are fucking Easter eggs as far as the way they write.
Right.
Pieces of shit.
So
Yeah, that whole movie is one giant goose egg. But I don't know, like any redeeming qualities of that movie. I mean, I kind of liked some of the scenes with Oa. I liked Sinestro. Actually, was kind of cool. I like that actor. He's played bad guys like in Sherlock Holmes. He was a main bad guy of Kick Ass. And he played Sinestro, and I like that actor, and I thought Sinestro looked pretty damn cool. And Jeffrey Rush did a voice of one of the characters in Kilowog or whatever that guy's name was.
yeah,
Michael Clark Duncan.
I thought Sinestro was a perfect casting. I mean, he looked like
I did
Sinestro,
too.
so I liked
Yeah.
him. His story arc didn't really make much sense either. He goes from
No.
that dick coach to somebody who, respects him at the end for saving the galaxy, basically something that he didn't do. And then there's no indication throughout the entire thing that he actually needs to put that ring on, and then he just fucking does it in one of those
Right.
post credit
Right.
scenes.
Well, he did somewhere in the movie ask the Guardians, like,
To make the ring.
let's fight fear with fear. Yeah, let's make a ring and all that stuff. And they went and did it, I guess, but then they didn't end up needing it because
Right, but even when he was
Green
asking
Lantern-
for it, they eventually caved in. What would have made it
Right.
better? What actually would have made it better is if they didn't cave in and he secretly made the ring, because then it would have made sense. Like, all right, if you guys aren't going to do it, I'm going to go off on my own and do something that no other Green Lantern does. Is go against the
Yeah.
Guardians, and then it would have made sense at the end because he made this ring in secrecy to become more powerful. Then it would have made
Right.
sense. But the Guardians gave in and said, okay, go ahead and make the ring. And then, he's out celebrating or he's out, talking up Hal Jordan, and then he just sneaks away. And then all of a sudden he puts the yellow ring on for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, the little throwaway after credit scene.
So,
And the other thing that really pissed me off about that movie is like, he goes to Owen, he's just like, come on, you guys, can you come to Earth and help me out? And they wouldn't they're just like, no. They're like, sorry, your humans aren't worth it. And I'm sitting here going like, wait a minute. So you mean that, eventually they're going to come to Oa and trash you. So why not go there now and defeat him? Try to fight.
yeah, well, that makes no sense either because the Guardians are the protector of the galaxy. And they're just like,
Right, I mean-
no. No, I'm not going to go help
I know
you.
it's so stupid. No, I'm not going to help you. Like because the more Parallax eats, the bigger he gets. So why would they let him just go off and blow up a bunch of planets when by the time he gets to Oa, he's going to be too powerful. So they need to go stop him.
That plot right there never happens in any Justice League cartoon that you've ever seen.
No,
The same people who did the animated series for Batman, that did the Justice League. Cartoons, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. There is no scene ever in there that says the Green Lanterns aren't going to help when they're part of the story.
Right. They're not going to go, you know what, you little pansy ass green tight bitch, you need to go do it yourself. No, they're like, okay, yeah, we'll help out.
Yeah, we're not going to help out. We're not going to help out an entire planet. We'll just let 4 billion, like however many billion people die.
Right.
That doesn't happen. If it doesn't happen in the cartoon, I've always argued this. If the cartoon makes more sense than the movie, then the movie's fucking bad.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, if Warner Brothers was trying to create this multi-universe thing, then, Superman would have, showed up and helped Green Lantern.
Well, they've basically given up on just doing one Hal Jordan movie because DC is now going to be doing Green Lantern Corps, and the rumor is that Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan will both be in
how are they going to do that? I definitely hope they don't put in who I think they're going to put in. I mean, Chris Pine would make actually a pretty good
Well,
Green Lantern.
he's not going to be anymore since he's in Wonder Woman.
Oh, that's right. He's playing the General Colonel, or.
But I mean, if they really
whatever.
wanted to reboot the Green Lantern Lord, why not just do it with Jon Stewart? I mean, that's who I grew up watching.
Yeah, that's who I grew up with too. I would rather they just do that. I just hope it's not Tyrese Gibson or whatever.
I hope
Fast
not
and
either.
Furious. He's the worst part of that franchise too. So
Yeah, I don't. Basically, he's the black version of Ryan Reynolds if they get him, because he's just
I
like
hate
the
to say
same
that.
guy.
He's just too goofy. Yeah,
He's just the same
you
guy in
don't need
everything that he does. And I don't picture Jon Stewart that way. I picture Jon Stewart
That's
like he's a former Marine. You know, where Hal Jordan was a pilot, he was a Marine.
like an Idris Elba.
Yes. I mean, I can picture that guy as Green
Yeah.
Lantern. He's got the stature for it. He's got the chiseled like face for the mask.
I love
completely
that guy, man.
Yeah. He should
You
be
gotta watch
James
Luther.
Bond too.
You definitely, or Black Batman, man. I mean, he's just such an amazing. I'll watch him in anything.
Yeah.
He was awesome in The Office, the freaking Office. He was in, and he was awesome in that.
You know, he almost kind of has a Green Lantern. Not a suit, but he almost a Green Lantern suit, but he has a suit in Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
So just picture that green with a mask on.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot he was in that.
So just picture
he's
that,
great. You get
like green with a mask, and I think he has a mustache in there, so maybe he shaves that for.
He needs to shave. Otherwise, they'll figure out who it is. That's the other thing is like they figured out who he was right away. Like what's her name? Blake Lively's like, calls him by name right away.
Yeah, I've
and
known
he's like,
you all my life. I'm not gonna know. I'm not gonna not know who you are just by a little mask.
Yeah, I'm not going to. Yeah, she actually says that, and he doesn't shave his 5 o'clock shadow.
You know what I immediately think of when she said that? I immediately think like, okay, well, I guess you wasted all that money on that CG. Then you should have used a fucking real mask.
right.
I mean, if Blake Lively of all people can figure out who you are, then what the fuck?
Right. And we're never going to see, Sinestro fight. We're never going to see, well, maybe we will later, but who was, Blake Lively's character was going to turn into a character eventually too. A bad guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Part of the DC universe. And I can't remember who it is now.
Nah, me neither. That's how little I give a shit about it.
But she was supposed to, eventually turn into a bad guy character.
Huh.
I can't remember who it is.
And, is she purple? Was she like had magic powers? Enchantress?
I think so, yeah. And that's why they made her hair brown, because Blake Lively's normally a blonde. So they made her hair brown because she's supposed to turn into, I think, a villain that has brown hair. I can't remember now. God, it's been so. This is how like out of touch I am, because when they said that they were going to make a sequel, I really like paid attention to everything that was going on, and then once the movie flopped, and then they decided to not do the sequel, I just didn't give a shit anymore. I was like, wow, that's such a wasted opportunity. Because I thought, you know what? If this movie does well enough to warrant a sequel, they can't fuck up the sequel. They got to get people in there that would take care of it. Because origin stories are always tricky, because we've seen origin stories 15,000 times. And usually it's
she's Star Sapphire.
Star Sapphire. That's what it was. Yeah, she was supposed to become Star Sapphire in the next movie. So, and then Sinestro was supposed to be the main baddie. Which is kind of like the Moriarty to Sherlock Holmes and the Joker to the Batman. I think Sinestro is kind of like that to Green Lantern, but we're never going to see that, or maybe we will in a few years. I don't know. I just hope they don't need to do any more origin stories. We know the backgrounds and all that. At least most of us geeks do. Some people don't, but I kind of like it when they just start the movies with them already, rolling around doing the super.
Well, there's ways to tell origins without actually telling the origin.
Yeah, you could do flashbacks and things like that. I mean, they did it with Man of Steel, but it was,
not done right. But
it wasn't done well. But they had the right idea. They told it in flashbacks, but that movie has so many problems because he was Superman for like a week.
Well, let's talk about we talk about that movie the week before
when Batman v Superman comes out. Yeah, we'll have to talk about the week before.
I'm looking forward to watching that movie all the way through again and ripping it to shreds even more.
I know it's been a while, but yeah, I'm going to watch it again.
But so
But
the other
anyway, with
movie
Green
was
Lantern,
Green
yeah.
Lantern was just terrible, and then I moved on to X-Men Origins Wolverine, and it's
which came out like 2 years before that movie came out, and
right. It came
you
out,
know,
and that movie tanked, and basically that just like Green Lantern, that movie killed a sub franchise because there was supposed to be a Magneto movie after that. They were going to go through every
that's right.
single X-Men that was introduced in Bryan Singer's X-Men and go through the origins of each one. And next up after Wolverine was supposed to be a younger
Which would have
Magneto.
been brilliant, man. I would have loved to have seen that. And it's not like they're just going to be by themselves. There's going to be other mutants and things like that. But that we'll never get to see that because Wolverine was not. I mean, while it did make its money back and it was successful enough to warrant a sequel, they were not going to do any more origin movies.
No, like I said, it killed the franchise.
Yeah, and the sad thing also beyond and above that, it might have made actually more money, but I don't know if I told you this, but like somebody leaked the movie out 4 or 5 months before.
I remember you telling
and
me that you watched some of it, but
I watched part of it, and it was really interesting from a filmmaker's point. Like, if I was really interested in film a long time ago, but like, there was a lot of the shots that weren't complete, and so. But I watched the movie, like part of it, and I was like, "This is really bad." I hope that this is a rough cut. You know, like I hope that when the movie does come out, it's gonna, because it looked like probably the one that they showed test audiences and stuff. Because I've never done that before, but I think that's what they show normally to figure out where they need to cut or add or do this or that. And so I stopped watching it, and then when the movie came out and went and saw it, I'm like, oh shit, I saw all this. Like they haven't changed anything. Like it's still bad, you know.
The worst
And
part.
some of
The worst part was
yeah.
looking wise, like special effects wise, was I'll never forget being in the theater, and it's the scene where he is taken in by that old couple, and he's in the bathroom,
In the bathroom,
and he
yeah.
unsheaths the claws from his hand, and they look like the special effects weren't done. Like because I saw it on the 65-inch here, this past weekend. But I remember seeing it in theater because it was, obviously the screen's 100 times bigger. And I remember
Huge, yeah,
seeing
way
it,
bigger.
and I remember thinking, wait a minute, those claws aren't even like on his, like, they're not even on his hand. They seem like they were off.
Did you pause it and go like, oh man?
Well, like it was like they forgot to finish a scene, and they actually let it
Yeah.
go. It just looks so fucking fake.
God. There's so many problems with
Because
that movie.
because remember he takes the claws and like he hits them together, and that's a perfect scene right there because they cut 2 or 3 times before they actually get to that part. And to me, because the special effects didn't get any better, but I'm wondering, like, when you made the cut, the cut away from a different angle, why didn't you just actually give him the real claws so that he could do that so it didn't look so goddamn fake?
I know. I don't know, man. There's so many. That movie has so many issues, and and the sucky thing is like when I was at Comic-Con and they introduced that movie, and then he was a surprise guest. He came out and said, "Oh, we just finished wrapping. We have a trailer for you," and he showed the trailer, and it was like the scene where he's on the motorcycle and he shoves his claws into the ground and he slides. The motorcycle, which was totally badass.
Yeah,
like,
it
we
was
watched
good.
that. We went nuts, and then he like flew in the air and he was about to hit the helicopter, and then they shut the light, turn the lights back on, and we were like, oh God, we want to watch more. And he's like, this is the movie that all you Wolverine fans have been waiting for. So like he really hyped the whole fucking thing up,
Right.
So to go watch it was such
He
a
did the
disappointment.
same he said the same thing about the Wolverine that came out years later.
Yeah, but that movie was such an improvement.
But he said, I remember him saying the same thing, saying
the same exact one.
Hey, seriously, if you go back on YouTube and watch his pre-press for Wolverine for the Wolverine and Origins, he says this is the movie that all Wolverine fans have been waiting for. And I'm like, you just said that about the shitty one where you had
I know
Gambit
the Japanese,
who lost his fucking accent halfway through the movie.
Yeah, the Japanese storyline is really good. It's really good, and
What?
and for the most part, like
That's
that
not
movie.
actually like they took the cool part of the Japanese version of it, or the Japanese story of Wolverine,
Hmm.
and they didn't
Hmm.
really do the whole story of like
No,
him in
no, no,
Japan. So they
they
played
didn't.
loosely with that story.
They did. I mean, but a lot of the problems that the first movie had, they of course, this movie had problems too. Like especially the ending, I didn't think was great. It
You're
was
right.
a little too
The Silver
weird and over the
Samurai.
top, and yeah, I didn't like that. But leading up to that, I mean, I actually was pretty entertained by that movie,
Yeah,
and
it
the
was
beginning
much better
was
than Origins.
breathtaking. I mean, when he jumps in the hole with the Japanese soldier and the bomb goes off, that was fucked. I was like, oh my god, that's
Yeah,
so
that was a good
cool.
scene.
He was all charred.
Yeah,
And we've never seen him burn. We've never seen him burn like that before.
yeah, we
So it
did.
was really
We
cool.
saw. Well, I mean, it wasn't great, but that scene in
Yeah.
at the end of X-Men 3, he's kind of burnt up a little bit.
Oh well, yeah. That was really cool actually, because when Jean Grey was
You
essentially
actually
like,
saw his skeleton.
yeah, that was pretty fucking badass. But yeah, the thing is, I guess the point we're trying to get to is,
The movie
when
sucks.
Ryan
That's what
Reynolds.
we're saying. The
Well,
movie
yeah,
sucks.
well, yeah. But usually you watch movies that have teams, and they're really cool because like everyone does different things, and they, But this was the one movie where the team was kind of dull, and the only bright spot in that team, I mean, even brighter than Wolverine was Ryan Reynolds' character Deadpool, or Wade Wilson, right? Wade
Yeah,
Wilson.
yeah. Wade Wilson couldn't agree more because, I mean, the scene in the elevator when he's just talking back to the
Oh
general
my
guy,
god.
to Stryker.
Yes.
I mean, it's a short scene, but it's just great. Like that's exactly
It
Deadpool.
says everything about his character right then and there in those few seconds, and of course they pull a Darth Maul. They get rid of him. He's in there for a minute, and then they get rid of him, and you're like, I want that guy back. I want that guy in the movie. Where did he go? And it's a travesty because they bring him back at the end.
Yeah, they took the best part of Deadpool, and they completely removed it for a cheap joke. For
Right?
for that one joke, that's exactly what they did, and it was such bullshit because they took the best thing about that character away from him.
Oh my god, yeah, his mouth. I
It's
I
like
just
if they made the John Peters movie and they're like, I don't want to see Superman fly and I don't want to see Superman in the red suit. Like it was like John.
and I
It was
want
like
a, and I want a
Peters.
big
It was
spider.
like
Yeah,
it was like John Peters like wrote Deadpool in this movie. He's like,
I was expecting a spider to
I don't
show
want
up. I really
want
was.
Deadpool. I don't want Deadpool to
To have
speak.
a red suit.
Yeah, I don't want Deadpool in the red suit, and I don't want him to speak.
And I want a big fucking giant beaver.
Yeah. Or
To come
could
out
you
of
imagine if like just think of let's think about what would happen if John Peters did Spider-Man. I don't want him to be
Oh,
a
God.
Spider-Man. I don't want him to be able to.
I don't want him.
He can't web crawl. He can't shoot webs. And I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him in the red suit.
And I want Spider-Man to drive around a four-wheeler.
Yeah,
because he needs
yeah.
it.
Can we give him a motorcycle? Can Spider-Man have a motorcycle?
Oh God! Speaking of which, I was just in the Target or something, and I saw the Hulk, on this car.
Oh God, that's
like
such a piece of shit
car.
car.
Hulk.
Yeah, it's.
I was like, why? Why does Hulk need a car?
Yeah.
He jumps miles at a time.
There's
Or
been
like,
a few toys. Actually, I've seen toys where Spider-Man has a motorcycle.
He has
and
a four-wheeler. Yeah, like a four-wheeler or
saw
a car.
one.
I'm just like, why?
I saw one where Superman had a plane.
Oh my God!
That's
Hilarious.
And it wasn't like a spaceship because, in depending on like which version of Superman you've read,
It was just a regular fucking plane.
Because
hysterical.
it's just a regular plane. Like it was just like a fighter jet. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Superman's faster than a jet. I'm like, are you saying like Superman's just fucking lazy and doesn't want to fly?
Aquaman came with his scuba gear.
Give Aquaman a snorkel.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I
That's
think
probably
they make
who's
those,
been creating those
trying to
toys.
sell
Is
toys.
John Peters has been doing those toys.
John Peters, that his division is to create toys.
Yeah.
Let's
Anytime you see
Oh
something that's
Lord,
supposed to be awesome and they take it away from you, it's John
they
Peters.
totally.
Like wait, if John Peters did like a Santa Claus movie, he's like, I don't want him to give presents away, and I don't want him in that red suit.
Okay, Darth Vader.
Yeah.
We don't want him to breathe heavy.
Yeah, we don't want
a lightsaber, and we don't want the black suit.
Does he have to have force powers?
Does he have to talk in that deep voice? Does he have to breathe heavy? Come on.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, that's too funny. But getting back to X-Men,
Yeah.
oh my God, he was the one. I mean, again, like he was the best part of that movie, and then they just quickly took him away for for characters that while you should have been excited for, like you really should have. I was excited to see Gambit for the first time, and I didn't really know at the time who they cast for it. I didn't really pay attention to that. I just thought, oh, cool, Gambit's in this thing. And he was the worst fucking character. It's so boring.
That guy has been in some of the worst fucking movies ever.
John Carter. John Carter's the worst movie ever.
I don't think it's the worst movie
bad.
ever, but it was pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
But you know what, though? I saw
it
after it tanked in the theater. You know, I saw it on like Stars or something, and
I haven't gotten through 20 minutes of it. I can't. It's like Sucker Punch to me. I can't go through movies that are just completely CG.
The one movie
it just takes me out. It's so boring.
The one movie that I can never get past the first 10 minutes is The Last Airbender. I can't
watch that either.
I get past. I get to the part. He just talked about whitewashing.
He did, and he completely rewrote the story. He completely took over and rewrote the whole thing.
Oh, you know what? Remember what I said before? It completely applies to that, because if the cartoon makes more sense than the movie, then the movie sucks. Because that cartoon, that's one of the best cartoons that I've ever seen. I will still sit down if it's on Nickelodeon. I will still sit down and watch that cartoon because of how good that show was. And
did you know that they're making Ghost in the Shell?
Yeah,
they're remaking a couple things, and already
Scarlett
it sounds
Johansson
bad.
is supposed to be in it. They already whitewashed that.
Why? I know it's fucking ridiculous, and we're not even saying whitewashing just to be like, it's just certain things are made a certain way, and they need to be respected.
Well, here's the problem I have about that is that nobody other than comic book or true fans are saying they have a problem with Scarlett Johansson being the main person in Ghost in the Shell. But if you talk about Idris Elba as James Bond, holy fuck, do people come out under the fucking up from under their rocks and fucking go ape shit like you said.
Hey, you know what? They went ape shit when they cast Daniel Craig too, because he was blonde and blue-eyed, and that's not James Bond.
Yeah, but they weren't making the same. They weren't making the same comments about Daniel
obviously,
Craig.
I mean, I can't. Right, I guess you can't compare. I mean, completely different, him and an Idris Elba type character. But still, let it speak for itself. Let the movie speak for itself. I think Idris Elba would be brilliant as fucking James Bond. He would bring something completely new and awesome.
I just don't see Scarlett Johansson as the Ghost in the Shell. Not to mention that movie takes place in Japan.
I know. It's like, they cast Emma Stone as a
there's
Chinese person in that movie,
right?
And I was like, it was disgusting.
I mean,
it took me right out of the movie.
There's plenty of British people that are black that can play James Bond. You know what I mean? There's black people in England. There's a ton of them, but this movie takes place in Japan, and the one robot that they create is going to be white in Japan. Does that make sense to you?
It makes no sense to me at all.
So
it's terrible, And she, I mean, I love Scarlett Johansson. Don't get me wrong. I like her in things, and I think she's brilliant as Black Widow. Which I wish they would give her own Black Widow movie. All that kind of stuff. But this is not the right role for her. They need to find somebody that that matches that character.
She has a little bit of Ghost in the Shell in her in that movie Lucy, tiny bit.
Lucy, right?
A little
Which
bit, a tiny bit.
I didn't like. I didn't like that movie.
No, I didn't, and that's what turned me off to her being cast in Ghost in the Shell. Other than the fact that she shouldn't have been casted, because there's a little bit of that in her in Lucy.
You know what it is it's just the fact that they wanted a big name in there, but you don't have to.
A big white name.
Right, right, exactly. You don't have to. That's why I love, I keep going back to The Force Awakens. I love that they grabbed people that were not really well known. That whole franchise has always done that. And then they toss in, a really good actor, like a Liam Neeson or something like that.
What's setting them apart is the way that Marvel and Disney cast. I'd like to know who their casting department is, and I should probably read up on it. But when they cast characters to do their parts in either Marvel movies or in this case, The Force Awakens, it seemed like they just got good actors. Maybe not well known like A-list actors because they didn't have to pay them a shit ton of money. But
dude,
Daisy Ridley just blew me away in that movie.
She was amazing, and she's been in little bit parts here and there. Like I've actually found some stuff that she was in, and I thought she's great. But they picked the people that were right for those parts. I mean, people were making a big deal about a black stormtrooper and all that. I was like, oh my god, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
And
so nobody in the galaxy is black in a stormtrooper. We're talking an entire galaxy.
Nobody. Lando's the only black person in the entire universe.
Right. You don't have a problem. You don't have a problem with a giant sexual molesting worm, but you have a problem with a black stormtrooper.
Dude, and he ended up being just a favorite, just amazing.
Yeah.
Such a good actor. And I actually went back and watched Attack of the Block because I'm just like, fuck, that guy's good. He's really good. And Daisy Ridley is fantastic. Oscar Isaacs, holy shit, that dude is awesome.
Yeah, I'm kind of having a hard time, even after the last trailer, seeing him as Apocalypse.
Oh, Apocalypse? Yeah,
I mean, I know he's a good actor, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, plus the fact that Bryan Singer is directing it. So, I mean, I'll he's built up enough faith.
Street cred.
Yeah, to say.
We'll see.
But
I think this is Bryan Singer's last X-Men movie, I think.
He apparently wants to do 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea next.
Oh, which would be awesome. I would love to see that.
The last time he went away and did a book was Jack and the Beanstalk, and that was not good. And you had some pretty good actors in that movie, too.
Sucked so bad. The CG was... Everything was bad about that.
I mean, you had...
about that movie.
What was his name? Nicholas Hoult was in there.
Yeah, I like that
guy. He played Jack.
Beast.
And then, of course, you have one of my favorite actors. Ewan McGregor was in that movie.
They wasted him in that.
And then, who was the guy... He's also in the Hunger Games. He plays the host of the TV show, but I think that was him in it, right?
Stanley Tucci.
Yes,
yeah, Stanley Tucci, who plays way over the top characters all the time.
But he's a good actor. So they got some really good actors in that movie, and that movie just sucked, really bad.
Again, it's all about you have to. Peter Jackson does it really well. He has spectacle, but it drives the story. It's not a hindrance, like when George Lucas did all the prequels, it was such a hindrance. It's like, it's more about the story and getting, the characters, care for the characters and all that stuff. And Jack and the Beanstalk is a really hard sell because we know that forever, the story. And so
we know the G-rated version of it. Is Jack and the Beanstalk one of the Grimm Brothers stories? Because I'm not sure. Yeah, because the Grimm Brothers stories are completely darker than what we know.
Oh yeah. People get eaten and torn apart and all kinds of shit. Yeah, it's and then they Disney-fy those things.
But
all those movies.
But I'm okay with. I'm okay with knowing the original story. Like when I first heard that they were doing the Snow White movie. And I was like, okay.
Oh, Snow White.
I'd like to know. Yeah, I would like to know. What the actual Grimm story was for that, and then they didn't do well by casting Kristen Stewart as Snow White because there was no way in hell that I would ever think she was prettier than Charlize Theron.
Well, the problem with that movie is everything felt like it was a set. it didn't feel real. It didn't feel like, Lord of the Rings is shot on location kind of thing. It just felt that everything felt like a set. And and it took me kind of out of the movie. And of course, she's kind of a wooden actress. I mean, certain things I like her in. Don't get me wrong. I like Adventureland. And
I will say Charlize Theron actually carried that movie. She was very good in it.
She did. Oh, she's fucking awesome in everything, dude. She's so good. I loved her Furiosa. I know you're not a big Mad Max fan, Fury Road or whatever, but I loved her as Furiosa. I wanted to see a movie.
We're going to have to dedicate a show just to Mad Max, and we got to get. We should probably try to find a third person to talk to me about Mad Max, because I mean, I didn't hate it, but I definitely did not love it as much.
You didn't see what the big hype was.
No, I didn't.
Well, one of the first. I mean, I'm a little older than you, and I think one of the movies I saw when I was a young kid was the first Mad Max with Mel Gibson, and
the very first one.
It was such a spectacle back then. I was like, holy shit! It felt like a kind of an exploitation.
Wait, did you watch
film.
it? Did you watch it before you watched Fury Road?
Of course, I've seen those movies ages ago, a long time ago.
Because it's so far apart. Like they call it, like in Mad Max, the Mel Gibson version, the very first one, they call it a post-apocalyptic world, and
right.
It doesn't look post-apocalyptic. There's a few
because it's
there's
still homes,
budget.
There's still houses and things.
Yeah,
there's no desert all over the place.
It's really low budget too, and you get
extremely low.
So, but they couldn't film in the desert for whatever. But
that movie reminded me of like how Evil Dead was. It was just very low budget. Then when Evil Dead 2, they went back and made it fancier and crazy or whatever. And the same thing when you watch Mad Max the second one. It's definitely you could see the production value was higher and all that stuff.
Right.
And then when they made Beyond Thunderdome, that movie,
was George Miller attached to that one?
I think so. And the movie's so 80s. Like if you watch that movie,
it's got Tina Turner as the bad guy in it. I mean, yeah.
Tina Turner, yeah. Well, there's the Thunderdome. Yeah, he fights in the Thunderdome. But that movie is about like him and saving kids, and it was not indicative of the Mad Max movies that came out before that. And so when this movie came out, Fury Road, that harkened back to the originals. So it was like really brutal and like, and very like, they didn't have a lot of CG in it, a lot of practical effects, and then over the top crazy fucking shit, and the guy that played Joe, the bad guy with the mask and all that stuff, he was in the original actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I picked up on that right away because
really cool.
I picked up on that right away because I had just seen it the night before. And
I guess why I love that movie so much is because I went into that thing not knowing anything. I saw a trailer for it and didn't tell you anything. I was like,
"You're talking about Fury Road?"
Yeah, Fury Road.
I saw it like 2 weeks after the release.
Yeah, and then I saw it opening night. My fiance's like. Loves Mad Max, and so like we went and saw it, and she just fucking loved that movie. Like that was her favorite movie last year. So yeah, we dug it. We really dug it. But not everybody. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But it made good money, and I guess he's prepping a sequel or something like that. I heard. So we'll see. And he's old. I mean, I guess not too old, but I mean he's in his 70s, and he's still fucking kicking ass like that. That was a crazy movie to do when you're 70, dude.
Yeah,
like it was pretty astonishing feat, to say the least. But no, I dug it. I thought it was pretty cool. It was entertaining. It was a popcorn movie.
We'll have to dedicate a show to that because I need to watch it again. And then
I just really want to do 80s action movies. There's so much stuff I want to talk about that I loved so much growing up in the 80s. And if we had podcasts back then, I would have been, because I had so many conversations with friends, over the years about so many different things, and now we have an opportunity to kind of go back and see it with a fresh pair of eyes and older and wiser, and we get to really could probably really tear these movies apart. But the 80s, so fun.
The 80s movies that I loved growing up, I still kind of do love them. Nothing has really diminished them for me.
No, me neither.
So
I mean, the bad movies were still bad, and the good movies we still love.
Right. I think I love some bad 80s movies though.
Oh, dude, Buckaroo Banzai and fucking Big Trouble Little China.
That's not a bad movie. Big Trouble in Little China is not a bad movie.
No, but it's so cheesy over the top, and I fucking love it. I
Yeah.
revisited that. It was on Netflix like a little while ago. I watched it.
Yeah, it's good.
And it just still holds up. I mean, I fucking love Kurt Russell, man. Yeah, but yeah, I want to go back and watch Escape from New York too. I saw Escape from L.A. the other day, and
That was
it's really
not
cheesy,
good.
but
Not good compared to
no, it's not as good. I loved Escape from New York. I just love that character of Snake Plissken, and when I grew up, he was doing all these Disney movies, and so to see him
Oh, right.
all of a sudden in this R movie, I was like, holy shit! I was blown away. I was like, oh my god, that's
Yeah,
so
Kurt
cool.
Russell is one of those guys that I'm glad is back. Like we said in the last podcast for Michael Keaton, I'm glad he's back. Doing stuff.
Yeah, they're both back in a big bag way. They're
You ever
doing
see that
different
movie?
things, but
Not to go too much on a tangent, but did you ever see that movie Overboard?
yeah, I love that movie with him and his wife. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was fantastic.
I love that movie.
movie. Still holds up.
Yeah.
It's hysterical.
Yeah, it's a good movie. But-
It was a really brilliant concept, and those '80s movies were fantastic. There was tons of movies like that were wonderful.
Yeah.
But
All right. So worst thing
Anyway,
that you
Deadpool.
remember? Yeah, exactly.
about X-Men Origins.
Yeah, worst thing about X-Men Origins right off the bat. First thing that comes to your head. Because I already said that the first thing that comes to my head always with that movie is the bathroom scene with the really awful unfinished looking CG.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Man,
First thing that just pops.
the opening sequence, I didn't.
With the kid?
I didn't quite get what they were trying to do there. I guess was his real father shows up, and so his father's so basically someone fucked his mom.
That was kind of well. So what ends up happening is in this version that
she cheated on her husband or something?
yeah, she was cheating on her husband with the help. And growing up, he was the rich kid, and his
older
friend,
brother was not.
Well, he didn't know he was his brother. He just thought it was a friend.
Okay.
He didn't find out that they were brothers until that night when he actually
Right.
murdered his real father because his real father shot and killed his, I guess, adoptive father or whatever you want to call him.
Right, stepdad.
Stepdad, but he didn't know it was his stepdad. He thought it was his real dad. So, but I remember reading a long time ago that wasn't the story. That I don't remember them actually being brothers, and I think that X-Men Origins is actually pulled from a more recent comic, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Well, because X-Men 1, Sabretooth is introduced, and they don't look like they really know each other, and he doesn't talk.
Right, he doesn't know each other.
He doesn't talk at all.
And I really like how do you say his name? Liv?
Leave Schreiber.
Liev Schreiber. I really like him too as an actor, and
Yeah,
that
I
was
do too.
disappointing when he was cast as Sabretooth. I was thinking, that's a good cast. He's a good actor, but what a lot of bad scripts of comic book movies does is they really make good actors look really bad.
They do. Everybody in that movie was wasted. I mean, the acting was bad. The script was bad. I thought
You know what? What's funny is that I can't believe you mentioned Big Trouble in Little China because there was a scene in X-Men Wolverines that reminds me of Big Trouble in Little China. Okay, so
the fight between the Gambit fight.
no,
right?
no, not the Gambit fight. It's the scene where Wolverine is releasing all the mutants behind cages. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember? It's like in this warehouse, and they're all in these cages, side facing each other, and they're all relatively really close to each other. Now think about the scene in Big Trouble in Little China, where all the prostitutes were in cages, and they all get released. Right. That when I was watching it again for this podcast, it reminded me of Big Trouble in Little China. It's fucking funny
funny.
It's funny that
I didn't
you mentioned
piece that together.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Origins or Wolverine.
You're right. They stole that, but
I'm not saying that they stole it, but it
together.
reminded me of Big Trouble in Little China, which was kind of funny.
That's really funny. Two totally different movies, but the other, but I love to see Big Trouble in Little China does not apologize for the kind of movie. It's just perfect the way You know, those '80s movies were like that. They didn't apologize for what they were.
There's
They're like,
less
this is what
plot
we are.
holes in Big
They're so
Trouble.
funny.
There's less plot holes in Big Trouble in Little China than there is in X-Men Wolverine. There's
Did they? So is that one guy modeled off of the guy in Mortal Kombat? Modeled off that character in Big Trouble in Little China? The
I
bad
don't
guy
know.
with the
There's that rumor that
Chinese
he was.
hat?
Yeah, Raiden.
Raiden, yeah,
Raiden
yeah.
is in
I think
Mortal
he's
Kombat.
modeled. I really think he's modeled off that guy
I don't know, but
because
it's fucking
he
close.
even has electricity too.
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
and he has the same kind of outfit, but I don't know if he
Yeah.
is. But it's close.
That's
But
too funny.
But
man.
it's funny that
So
that X-Men Origins Wolverine has more plot holes than Big Trouble in Little China. Let that sink in for a second of how bad X-Men Origins is.
it's such a waste of that character, you know, and really, like, did that movie needed to be told, you know, or I guess it could have been, but like it could have been done.
You know what
So much
they
better.
should have done the same approach that they did with the Wolverine, which is just tell a standalone story. Don't worry about trying to
did
tell
they-
his origins because they could have just because let's not forget that Wolverine fought in World War II with Captain America.
I know he's been around for a long time, so why didn't they do? You're right. Why didn't they do a standalone movie back in the 20s and 30s or 40s? I don't understand why they did that.
I would have fucking loved to have seen a Wolverine movie where he doesn't get the adamantium and he's just
Running around with bone claws.
yeah, and he's fighting World War II with Captain America, or at least tease Captain America at some point.
Well, that'd be hard because Fox and
Oh, that's right,
Disney
right.
are
Marvel
two
still had.
different
I think Marvel
entities,
still had it. Yeah,
Marvel.
yeah.
But you know, it's like they're like, okay, well, fans are, or not fans, but the normal audience is familiar with the X-Men, so we need to get Wolverine as closest to where the X-Men are, you know, because they had Scott Summers. You remember, you know, I think wasn't he in it? Cyclops.
Mm-hmm. They got Cyclops in that movie too.
Yeah. Okay. So we need to have other X-Men that are familiar. They really didn't need to do that. I mean, they could have just had a standalone movie with him way early on, you know, in his, while, you know, in the 20s or 30s or during World War II, any of that stuff. They could have done that. Or they could have done a span of like 20 or 30 years in a, you know, earlier in the century versus trying to get up to the 80s or wherever that time frame was, probably in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
And they didn't. That wasn't necessary. Like what I love about the Wolverine is it is a standalone movie. You know, he's in Japan and all that stuff, and I enjoyed that. I thought it was really cool. You didn't need to have all the other X-Men show up and all that shit. You know,
They kind of ruined
Silver
Samurai.
Yeah, they did. Well, they ruined Silver Surfer too.
Yeah, Fox kills
While
a
we're
lot
at
of
it,
characters.
because that would have been. I mean, the scenes that they had in Fantastic Four, the second one, the Silver Surfer was pretty awesome. You know, it was played by Doug Jones.
Yeah, you know
who's,
what's
you know,
actually what's going to be good is
Hellboy
that when the
movies.
Gambit movie comes out, I don't fucking have to watch X-Men Origins again to talk about Gambit.
I am not looking forward to that movie, dude. I like Channing Tatum, but he's only good at certain things.
Yeah, he's good in like
not a very
21
good
Jump
actor
Street,
either.
but he doesn't.
Oh, I loved. Yeah.
Do you know how fucking awful he's going to have like a Kevin Costner accent in that movie where
Oh, jeez.
halfway through the movie it's just
God.
going to be fucking forgotten.
Because Taylor Kitsch did, you know,
He gave up on it too. In the movie, he just
did.
gave up on it.
And he has the most moronic, worst scene in the whole movie. Like Wolverine is about to kill Sabretooth, like cut his head off. And freaking Gambit comes out of nowhere. Wasn't he like they were on the bottom floor gambling or something?
No,
then all of a
he
sudden,
actually got
next thing you
knocked
know,
out. He gets knocked out by Wolverine in the alleyway.
Yeah.
And the next time you see
Yeah,
him, he's
he gets-
running on the rooftops with a staff where you're like, where the fuck did you get that?
Right, exactly.
Because let's put the staff in because, you know, fans know that Gambit has a staff. But at the same time, where the fuck do you get it? He didn't, like, You can't just put shit in and not show or not like know where he got it from. Like
right, but he just jumps off the building and hits the ground really hard, and it just shakes everything and
for
throws
no
the guy
fucking
off
reason.
for no reason at all. No reason at all. Or if you saw that what was happening, you wouldn't have done that. You'd have been like waited or something, you know. But
Right, because he knew. I think he acknowledged too. He knew that that was the bad guy.
right. Well, you know, honestly, dude. See, again, it's the mistake of like we have to introduce someone in here that's going to keep the fans excited or this or that. Gambit was a complete fucking waste.
Yeah,
he did. The only thing that he was there for was to to tell Wolverine where the island was or something
right.
like that. That was the only reason.
Right.
And so did you really? Yeah, it was so poorly. And he was a terrible Gambit, really fucking terrible.
What do they call that?
So
what do they call that? A MacGuffin or something like that? What do they call that?
Well, the MacGuffin is like the thing, the main thing that propels the story. So, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, the MacGuffin is the Ark itself.
Okay. So Gambit's not the MacGuffin. He's just a really
no.
He's just a really shitty plot point.
Exactly.
He can't even be the MacGuffin. That's how fucking bad he is.
No, he's a MacGoober. Yeah, he's terrible. He's a fucking terrible. And I like that guy. I like Taylor Kitchen. What is that? Friday Night Lights. It's a fantastic TV show.
Yeah, but I don't know if I think whoever his agent is, he needs to fire his agent because he is in some of the worst fucking movies. That guy cannot catch a goddamn break.
No, he can't. Everything he's been in is tanked.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, but they just haven't found a good movie role for him. They did put him in True Detective Season 2, and I thought he was okay.
And that season sucked too.
Yeah.
That guy is a fucking curse to whatever it is.
He is.
I bet you Taylor Kitsch is somewhere in Man of Steel. He's just walking around. He maybe walked on set one day. He just fucking doomed that movie.
Yeah, he was a cinematographer or something. I don't know.
I wonder if Taylor Kitsch was like in the entire prequels.
Yeah, he could have been. He could have been. No, Jar Jar Binks was played by somebody else. I read an article recently about the guy who played Jar Jar Binks.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a poor guy. Like his career is completely cursed, and people most hated guy in the world, and all kinds of shit. Poor guy. It wasn't his fault. No. He thought he was doing something cool. If I were, if someone hired me, if George Lucas called me up and said,
"Hey, I want you to be retarded.
I like you, kid. I want you to be retarded, be Jar Jar Binks in the Star Wars movie," I would be like, "Fuck yes, whatever you want."
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of the most annoying voice you can do, and then dial it up to a 10.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber when Jim Carrey goes, "What's the most annoying sound in the world?" Do that all the way through.
Yeah, do that, and speak in broken languages. And like walk funny because nobody else no other Gungan walks like that. Only you.
Who ever thought "Excuse Me" would be fucking? I mean, oh my god, dude, I cringed so bad when he said "Excuse me."
Oh,
I was like, oh no.
I wish we were sitting next to each other right now so I could fucking slap you for saying that because I had all but forgotten about that word. And now I just picture
or Misa.
I picture him saying it. I picture him saying it.
Right. I wish they just pulled the lightsaber out and just stabbed him and kept going.
That should be a fan film.
Right.
They just line up. That would have been. They just line up Jar Jar, and then everybody you hate afterwards. Like there's Ewoks back there somewhere.
I mean, even Captain Tarples was way better than fucking Jar Jar.
Well,
you saw big doo doo now.
Yeah, when you say doo doo, it's like. I don't care how big of a stick you're carrying. If you tell me I'm in big doo-doo, I'm
not taking you seriously.
I'm not taking you seriously.
I'm going to force choke you, you son of a bitch.
Even after you shoot me or hit me with that stick, I'm still not going to take you seriously because you told me I was in big doo-doo. And how come this underwater race knows not to say the word shit and say doo-doo instead?
don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Dude, he made that movie for kids. It's for kids. It starred a kid.
But
I
like,
mean, that,
does that? I've seen it many times, and it's been years. And I just thought of that right now. I just thought of like, how do they know not to say the word shit? And,
no, it should have
and
been.
say,
Well, they say poodoo
yeah,
on Tatooine or whatever.
that's Huttese. That's an actual language.
Huttese, right? It means shit,
Right.
Yeah.
So
or
when
fodder,
they say
bantha fodder.
when they say right, exactly. Fodder is like the English version of poodoo. That Huttese is, but Huttese is an actual language. When the Gungans speak, they're
Yeah.
just speaking in a broken dialect language,
Right.
but they use the word doo-doo instead of shit, which doo-doo is a real word, but nobody fucking says it unless you're talking to a 4-year-old.
I would have died. I would have died if they would have just said shit. It just would have been. I just want. I don't. Just it has no effect to go. You piece of dude. You piece of poodoo.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No.
I would have liked, I think I would have liked, somebody should overdub Jar Jar's voice in the movie with the same type of voice, but change his lines to saying like curses and shit. Like when, the
Right.
scene where they're in the underwater submarine or whatever they're in, and that giant, the giant fish comes in, and he, Jar Jar screams like a fucking, I don't know what you want to call it, but he screams really loud and everything.
Yeah.
I would have fucking died if he screamed and said, fuck me, like really loud.
It should be in Bruce Campbell's voice.
Yeah, you get like Kevin Smith to write the role, like, because he loves cursing and stuff in movies.
Dick and fart jokes. Yeah.
Oh no, you get Ari from
Ari Gold.
Yeah, you get Ari Gold to write the curses for Jar Jar Binks in it, and you just overdub his parts, and it'd be fucking hilarious.
That'd be hysterical. Speaking of Ari, this is like really quick, but like I was watching Cars with my son not too long ago again, and
he's in it.
I never noticed it. That was one of his favorite Pixar movies. Not anymore, but now that he's older, he loves Incredibles. Thank God, he's my kid now.
Yeah, before he wasn't.
But no, before he loved Cars, and I'm like, I disown you. I don't like you anymore. No, but that movie was made for kids, and he was 4 years old when it came out.
It doesn't matter. You failed. You failed as a father when he was 4.
Right. But I didn't notice though the first time I watched it is that when the McQueen's agent is Ari Gold, is played by Jeremy Piven, talking through the speaker of Mac. I didn't catch it the first time, and I was like, shit, that sounds like Ari Gold. And go back and watch it. Just watch that scene where he's like talking to him through the speaker. And
that's awesome.
I just thought that was genius. I'm like, oh my God.
I mean, the movie still fucking sucks, but.
It does, but that elevated it for me because I was like, that's for me. That's not for the kids or anything. That's that's deep cuts. It was totally good.
Right. That's when like Bugs Bunny dressed up as a woman, and you just thought it was funny. But as you watch it when you're growing up, you're like, this is really fucked up shit right now. That Bugs Bunny is
right.
Not only is Bugs Bunny
hot.
Not only is Bugs Bunny a rabbit, but he's a rabbit dressed up as a woman seducing a human being. Like, this is some fucked up shit right here.
Elmer Fudd wanted to fuck that rabbit. He wanted that rabbit.
Yeah, and he would have got a surprise when he found his little carrot underneath his dress.
Oh shit! And then he's like, "Okay, whatever, it's fine. I'm a
no
farmer."
Teeth.
Tail is tail.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's too funny.
All right, so there's 2 shitty movies that we watched for this podcast, just to say, thank God, we have a Deadpool movie. You would think we weren't excited for the Deadpool movie because we just ripped these 2 movies to shreds, but we actually kind of are because from the marketing to the social media, everything that they have done and shown, I just basically just want to watch people getting killed and him saying really fucked up shit in this movie.
Breaking the fourth wall. How disappointing would it be if this movie sucks? I dream, I pray, I hope not.
Here's the weird thing about this movie for me. Here's the weird thing about this movie for me. I'm not expecting it to be like, like X-Men, Days of Futures Past. I'm not expecting it to be The Dark Knight. I'm going in expecting to hear dick fart sex jokes with a lot of violence. So the
Right.
bar is not really set high for me.
No.
So
And if
you
they
can
do all those things,
right,
win-win.
I'm okay
Yeah.
with that. And maybe after I stop laughing from Ryan Reynolds being Deadpool, because I expect the jokes to be funny. There's not one
Right.
thing that they've done or that I've seen. I'm hoping those aren't the best jokes. Because the only way that this
Right.
movie could suck. But I'm expecting to laugh in this movie.
We've seen 5% of the movie so far, according to them.
Yeah.
They're like, I think that was one of the advertisements too. Like they're still like doing fucking funny TV spots, like
Right.
internet spots.
Yeah.
They're still going all the way up to the premiere. So it's just genius. It's definitely indicative of that character. It's one of the best. I don't know. Like when I just see that, I go, they got it. They nailed it. Like, okay, now let's go and watch this thing and get excited. And they're already talking about a second one, and they were already kind of hinted who would be in that. And, there's all this different shit that they can do.
Right.
So
that's it.
Man,
So
I'm excited.
Next week is Deadpool, and next week we'll.
Next week we're going to talk Deadpool. That will dedicate the hour to Deadpool, and probably 50,000 tangents we go on, but that's just the way it rolls.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
All right, man. Well, that's episode 7 of Chew on This. I'm BJ.
Vic.
Peace.
Later.